Howdy. Welcome to the Golden Thread. My name is Silas House, and I'm so happy to be here. I'm honored and proud to be associated with Rux in any way that I can be, and really happy to celebrate Rux. Since 2014, Rux has brought together folks from every corner of Kentucky to share their stories and find common ground. Rux members have learned about the issues facing Kentuckians by spending time with those most affected, listening closely, and applying lessons learned to the challenges they face at home. Projects and collaborations have occurred all over Kentucky as a result, and more importantly, Kentuckians of all stripes have found lifelong friendships with folks they never would have met, binding their families and communities together in powerful ways. That's the magic of Rux. That's why I'm proud to be here. This program helps Kentuckians use the transformative power of place, story, and culture to promote empathy, mutuality, and collaboration. So this afternoon, as we celebrate some of the most exciting arts and ideas coming out of Kentucky in the past year, we invite all of you to look towards Kentucky's future and consider what you can do to strengthen connection within and across our communities. On that note, I'm going to share a poem with you to kick things off. This is called Those Who Carry Us. When I was little, a storm gathered in the night with shivers of lightning and quaking thunder. The rain fell cold and sideways for 3 days. All the creeks conspired to the raging river. As the flood seeped beneath our door, my mother sat me on her hip. She carried me, muddy foam striking her knees, then her waist, before she reached high ground where neighbors waited to help us. Once, my aunt ran down the road with me, latched to her chest, a tornado behind her. In the church basement, we could hear the havoc. She whispered, "If you are still and quiet, this will pass." Afterward, a mighty moon shined so bright I could see our shadows as the world dripped and rotted. Already, people were rebuilding. Even hammers and saws make a kind of music. Often these days, I study on those who carry us, the everyday people who keep the engine of the world running. When the darkest skies move in, I remind myself that most people are good. I think of school teachers who say, "You matter," bus drivers who are glad to see us each morning, lunch ladies laughing as they ladle out our food, all those who stand up for what is right. There are so many ways to change the world. The mechanic and miner, mail carrier, cashiers and clerks, singers, farmers and truck drivers. I can see them. I imagine their sore shoulders and tired legs. I thank them for carrying me even when I didn't know. We carry each other from Pine Mountain to the Penny Ryle, past tulip poplars and goldenrods, from city streets to hollow roads, from the wide Ohio to the quickening creeks of the gorge. We go forward together. We lift our neighbors. From Hickman to Hyman, Mayfield to Louisville, Cadiz, Cumberland Falls, Falls of Rough, from the Bluegrass to Bowling Green, Eminence to Independence. Lawrence, Laurel, LaRue, I will carry you. Kentucky, we walk a ways together, no matter if it is in cold rain or moonlight. Sometimes the only music is hammers and saws, but we keep going, aiming for the high ground where they will be standing with their arms out saying, "Come here and rest. Let me help you." Thank you very much. Now please welcome Kim Baker, Director of Kentucky Performing Arts.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kim Baker, and I'm the CEO of Kentucky Performing Arts. And it is truly an honor to welcome you here to the Kentucky Rural Urban Exchange, to the Kentucky Center and the Baumhard Theater for the Golden Thread. Looking around this room and just spending a few minutes backstage, it was an extraordinary group of people. I see a vibrant tapestry of artists and storytellers, community builders, and change makers from every corner of our Commonwealth. You are the heart of what we believe in here at the Kentucky Performing Arts, and that is that the arts are a powerful force for connection, transformation, and inspiration. Our mission here at KPA is to connect and inspire through the arts, and that mission is deeply, deeply aligned with the work of RUX. So whether it's going to events or gatherings at one of our theaters or through our statewide outreach and education programs, we're committed to building bridges across communities, geographies, and generations. Last season alone, Kentucky Performing Arts hosted nearly 500 events, welcomed 400,000 people from every Kentucky county, every state, and even several countries, generating nearly $40 million in economic impact. And all of that is similar to what my peers across the country might do at their performing arts centers. But what's not the same is our connection to Kentucky and the relationship and the stories that we build through our programs. We have a statewide mission and a statewide reach here. From the Governor's School for the Arts, which I'm proud to say I was a part of in its very first year, to our Arts Reach program serving historically underserved communities, to the newly launched KPA Bradley Awards, which brings together young people that have a love of musical theater from all across the Commonwealth. We're investing in Kentucky's creative future. We believe, as all of you do, that Kentucky's strength lies in its diversity, rural and urban, east and west, tradition and innovation. And we believe that the arts are the thread that weaves us all together. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for being here. And thank you for making a more connected, creative, and compassionate Kentucky. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. We are so grateful to Kim and the Kentucky Performing Arts for their partnership on this event. On behalf of the RUX, I would like to thank all of those whose time, effort, and support have made this evening possible. Thank you to the Rural Urban Exchange's 2025 Steering Committee for their stewardship and leadership of the program, Contea Allen, Bailey Ambergy, Shaylin Bishop, Lauren Calhoun, Bernard Clay, Jim Guthrie, Ellie Haskins Wagner, Kyra Higgins, Tyler McDaniel, Olivia Spradlin, Jessica Stevens, Susie Trejo, Robin Verson, and Jenny Williams. And to staff members Savannah Barrett, Hannah Matangos, Hannah Burt, Maggie Goodman, and Grace Rogers. Thank you to our sponsors whose contributions support RUX not only today but in the year to come. So thank you to our presenting sponsor, Kentucky Performing Arts, for their generous dedication to RUX, and to our contributing sponsor, Louisville Public Media, who helped get the word out about tonight's event. Thank you to supporting sponsors, Appalachian Impact Fund and the Christina Lee Brown Environmental Institute at the University of Louisville, and our promoting sponsors, Owensboro Health and Partners for Rural Impact. Thanks to our food and beverage sponsors for supporting the gold standard reception. Thank you to Chef James Kugel, and thank you to Floral Head Flowers for beautiful arrangements tonight. Finally, thanks to Myriad Hotel for hosting our out-of-town friends. Before we meet visionary leaders and performers from across the Commonwealth, we have a special opportunity to hear from the network about how RUX has impacted them.
Being a part of RUX has been life-changing. So when I came into the cohort in 2016, really didn't know what to expect. I was kind of trying to find my place professionally and what my career would look like, and RUX really offered like a library of opportunities. So there were different genres, different angles that I could really use my skill set and expertise to improve the communities in which I was living in. And now, fast forward 3 years later, Rux has inspired me to, start a business that really looks at improving Kentucky's local food systems. I've been involved since not the very, very first year, but directly thereafter. So I've seen it grow from kind of us pitching tents in people's backyards to having, a 72-person cohort going to 3 communities across the state over the summer. When you come to the weekends and you hear people share their stories and the way that they have grown, stretched themselves, and learned more about Kentucky communities, it can be very emotional.
I come from Louisville, and I never would have been here in Heinemann or Hazard or anything, but I'm seeing that Louisville is Hyman, and seeing other people trying to do the same stuff that I'm trying to do. And we are really all the same, and yes. We are like my community might have a lack of resources. The host communities might have the same lack of resources, and everybody's trying to figure out how do we get the resources. And I feel like everybody struggles the same.
Whatever misconceptions you might have about a group of people, once you've broken bread with those folks, you can no longer see them as like an abstract concept, right? This is your friend.
Well, I think the value of bringing people together, especially from disparate parts of the state and disparate communities and disparate, identities, it just gives you an opportunity to listen to different perspectives where you weren't really able to do that. It sets the table for a conversation to occur where there's back and forth and not antagonism.
I always love the intention of Rux going into different communities, of seeking out people who are the hidden figures, like who's really making this community, city, or town thrive, and it's always the folks really at the margins.
The lesson that I've learned and I'm taking away is kind of look past the veil, dig a little deeper into your community, into yourself, because there's more to the story, I guess, than just what's on the outside.
I think Kentucky is worth fighting for, and its people are worth fighting for, and that we can't do that without standing with each other. And I think Rux is a really wonderful microcosm of what it looks like to really show up for each other.
Kentucky is full of dope people doing dope things, and we are all working, everyone in this program is working towards making this Commonwealth better. And we might get stigmatized by the rest of the country for being a variety of negative things, but we are all here working to make ourselves better so that we can make a better Kentucky for tomorrow.
It probably is the most rewarding thing that I do, to be able to see the ways that we have connected Kentuckians across these perceived divides that are holding us back all across the state.
I think this model is, really simple and should be replicated everywhere. Just this model of bringing people together in sort of a safe space where everyone can be themselves and everybody can sort of bring an authentic curiosity and respect for other people to a room or to a field or to a place where they can just sit and get to know each other. I just think this gets back to the very basics of what building our communities is about, and that's why I keep coming back.
We spend a lot of time in our bubbles and our communities, which is really valuable, but then so much happens when you just cross and intermix with just people from other walks of life, including like collaborations. And I never thought about this before, but now I have this great idea And then also I just think like rural urban solidarity within Kentucky, like that is the only way we're going to win and grow the power we need to like have better living conditions for everyone. But that's not necessarily, those aren't necessarily values that I think we're like taught to practice every day. And Rux ultimately is just like, it just shows you that, yeah, every place is worth fighting for within Kentucky.
That's the brilliance of this program. It's sort of like, it makes you empathize. It puts you in a point of where you experience a community almost like you're a local or almost like you're a family member. And you get a ground level view of this community, this society that you're sort of touring or visiting, but you're not really a tourist because you're getting like real conversation, and you're seeing the dichotomies between, you know, the good and the bad that are going on.
The lifelong connectedness of what does this future in Kentucky look like? I'd wanted to move away so many times, and I just never was able to get away, and now I know I'm here for a reason. And Rux helped define that for me by helping me analyze what I have to offer, what I have to learn, and then where I'm needing to go from there.
So much in that video resonated for me, but especially that refrain of Kentucky is worth fighting for. I really believe in that. That's why I'm here today. That's why everybody who's going to be on this stage today, I think that they all really believe in that. And I'm assuming that's why you all are here. So thank you again. It's inspiring to see those stories. Well, I want to introduce you to one of the Kentuckians who have made these experiences possible. Rux co-founder Savannah Barrett. Savannah is Exchange Director of Art of the Rural, a national organization that works to resource rural and native artists and culture bearers across the country to build the field, change narratives, and bridge divides. Her work to support rural arts and culture spans 2 decades, beginning as a Grayson County High School student who co-founded a local arts agency and community festival, and more recently as the National Programs Director at the Rural Policy Research Institute, board member to the Center for Performance and Civic Practice, a facilitator for PA Humanities, and as an advisor to grant makers across South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Oregon, and New York. Savannah co-founded the Rural Urban Exchange in 2014 and has been working with visionary Kentuckians and Minnesotans for the past decade to build stronger relationships between the people and place that share those geographies. Please welcome Savannah Barrett.
Hey Kentucky, how y'all doing? Well, it is a joy to welcome you to the Golden Thread. And if you're new to Rux, you should know that this room is full of Kentuckians who have traveled from across the state, from Paducah to Prestonsburg, to be here with us tonight. So thank you for making the journey. It is so special to come together at this beautiful State Performing Arts Center to recognize the arts, culture, and ideas that weave us together. Before we get started, I want to take just a moment to thank a couple of folks. First, I'd like to recognize the Kentuckians who volunteer to lead Rux every day. So if you are a current or former steering committee or staff member, will you please stand? Don't be shy. Y'all, every day these Kentuckians and other members and partners from all over the state give their time and talent to bring us together. So thank you for your service. I also want to thank our amazing partners at Kentucky Performing Arts. They have been with us from the very beginning. They were our first sponsor back in 2014, and they've just done an incredible job supporting every detail of this event. So thank you, KPA, and thank you, Kim, and all the staff at KPA for your belief in this work. And last of all, but certainly not least, thank you so much to tonight's performers, speakers, and sponsors. Individually, these Kentuckians inspire their communities towards action, but together they represent the strength of our connection. That's the spirit of the work we do at Kentucky Rucks, a statewide network that brings everyday Kentuckians together to build relationships and find common purpose. These 400 civic leaders that make up Rucks are teachers, farmers, electeds, students, nurses, factory workers, caretakers, and more who travel across Kentucky at their own expense because they know there's power in meeting people where they're from. Across 80 counties, Kentuckians and their community partners are supporting and guiding and facilitating this network as volunteers because they know that there's power in solidarity. We've built this mighty network at the speed of trust, which we often say is slow at first, but becomes exponential. In 2014, a handful of regular Kentuckians started Rucks with a mission to build a more collaborative and connected Kentucky. We began, my co-founder Josh May and I, who at that time worked at Apple Shop. There are several Apple Shop folks here in the room. Thank you for making the trip. Thank you for your decade of support. Rucks began as a partnership between Art of the Rural and Apple Shop for an exchange between just the city of Louisville and the coal fields of Appalachia that surrounded Letcher County. 11 years later, it has grown into an alumni-led network that resources change makers to work across racial, economic divides, or geographic divides in Kentucky. We've hosted 10 cohorts across 29 conferences and 18 host communities. In every one of them, we've asked our hosts to show, not tell, because we know that rich, active experiences of local culture, foodways, and environments create what we call neuroplasticity, which is the right conditions in the brain to change your mind. So we create unforgettable experiences that you just can't access from the highway. From square dances, farm dinners, and swimming holes, to museum story circles and narrative stages in church basements. Each one of these experiences teach us that to build relationships that transcend time, distance, and divide, we have to share the full richness of ourselves and the complexity of our places. You see, in Rucks, relationships are both the solution and the strategy. We've learned that true leadership is a process of deepening connection to people and places, and that vulnerability is the currency of that connection. Now, people often think when I say that vulnerability is an act of sharing, but in Rucks, we practice vulnerability through listening, by recognizing that the people in communities are the experts of their lived experience, that multiple truths exist at the same time, and that when we truly listen, we do so with a willingness to change our minds. Listening has shown us time and time again that when we look for common ground, we find it. Full stop. Over the past 11 years, Rucks has hosted more than 100 community forums that bring the Kentuckians most affected by an issue into proximity with those most positioned to address that issue. We ask them to respectfully hear from one another, and it has shown us time and time again that the shortest distance between two people is a story, and that through stories, we can gain the trust and relationships to build community. As we've listened, we've realized that too often, solutions are built for one problem in one place at a time, but the problems facing our communities are connected. So to address this, Rucks is working to build capacity at the crossroads of proximity, which we see as a community's importance in shaping its own future, and interdependence, the acknowledgement that we all live downstream. We've spent 11 years working to remove the barriers holding Kentuckians back from participating in community change. To do that, we've built a curriculum that supports everyday people to participate meaningfully in civic life. And we partnered with more than 200 Kentucky organizations and businesses to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in local economies, produce Kentucky's first civic innovation field scan, and fund 53 projects that make our forest and waterways healthier, our main streets more vibrant, and our communities more connected. One core belief has emerged from this work, which is that a community flourishes when people see themselves as integral to that place's future, but society flourishes when those leaders recognize that their future is linked up and downstream. As the network of RUC's partners and alumni have grown, so has the impact of this network. Today, a RUC's member from anywhere in Kentucky can access the power and resources of local leaders across the state. That kind of social capital is rare and it's hard to reach everywhere, but it is a little less and less true in Kentucky because of all of you. In a world that profits from our division, I challenge you to be indivisible. If you're not yet a member of RUC's, I hope you'll use the postcard you were given to join us. You can sign up for as little as $5 a month. And what joining us means is building real relationships with Kentuckians across the state. So y'all, tomorrow, with your help, we'll continue the work of building a statewide commitment to civic health and a brand for Kentucky where innovation thrives in diverse contexts. But tonight, we're having a civic revival. So I hope you're ready to be inspired. Tonight's speakers and performers are leading work that is innovative, powerful, and singular. When you leave this room tonight, we hope you feel a little more proud to be an American and a little more grateful to be a Kentuckian. Thanks for being with us.
Our first performer tonight is Mitchell L.H. Douglas, co-founder of the Appalachian Poets, the author of Dying in the Scarecrow's Arms, Black Elephant, winner of the Persia Books Lexi Rudnitsky Editor's Choice Award, and Cooling Board, a long playing poem, an NAACP Image Award, and Hurston Wright Legacy Award nominee. His poem that begins with a tweet about Gwendolyn Brooks was featured in This Is the Honey, an anthology of contemporary black poets edited by New York Times bestselling author Kwame Alexander. He is also an associate professor of English at Indiana University, Indianapolis, and a Cave Canem alum. His fourth poetry collection, Universal Corner, will be published by Persia in 2026. Please welcome Mitchell L.H. Douglas.
Good afternoon. It's good to be here. I'm a West End kid. It says so in the book, actually. That's part of the book. From a little neighborhood in Russell, close to Portland, with grandparents who seemed like it sometimes they were like came out of a storybook. So I am blessed, and I'm blessed to be here with you today. I have a poem I want to read that's for my dad. It's a poem I read at his funeral here in Louisville 2 years ago, and this poem is called Black Classical, for my father, Robert L. Douglas, Sr. Who can be born black and not sing the wonder of it, the joy, the challenge? Mari Evans. The sound you hear at midnight is not the bass and snare of your favorite rap song lulling you to REM, or the fist to lunchroom table pounding out beats for freestyles. It is the bass and snare of your father at your bedroom door, each rap of the wood prying your eyelids back to the moon. I thought I told you to do those dishes before you went to bed, son. It's your responsibility. Get up. The lesson, you are not slick, and he reminds you. His voice pulls you from the room you spray painted with subway cars, a city skyline, when he said no. There's art all over this house, you say. This is mine. And he agrees. The walls doused in aerosol until you leave for college and you learn that love can be gracious, that it can compromise. Forgive. When was he not teaching you? Remember, you are 21 and he takes you for a drink at each of his favorite joints. You are Joe's palm room representing and the smiling birthday boy, pressed to the bar at Club Cedar with a catfish sandwich in one hand, a beer in the other, and a story to tell forever. He takes you to the places where his name holds up the walls, adds yours to the brick. Remember, you are 10 and the only black player on your baseball team, and he knows what that means. So he becomes the only black coach. Remember, you are 8 and he leads you to the stove, a pat of butter sizzling in the skillet, wheat bread, which before that wasn't you, but you say, okay. And you're making grilled cheese like it's the best thing anyone will ever eat. Your friends come over to drag you to the playground and you say, wait, sit down, let me cook you something. Remember, you are 7 and he turns your saving your allowance for a toy, some heavy, crazy die-cast robot, into a game, the feel of stashing coins rivaling the joy of the toy itself. Remember, your age, a question mark, dad at the turntable, spinning some math called jazz. Your unseasoned ears, fleeing from the equations he embraced, only to find them decades after like he wasn't holding open the door. These lessons go deep in the marrow. The sweet arpeggio Mari wrote and you analyzed. Father, we are brighter than any sun dare shine, an electric tomorrow. I cannot fill my weeping house with enough black classical. Train, Dolphy, Mingus, and Miles together can't fill these rooms with enough notes to praise you. You are missing. You are not missing. You are not absence or echo. You are searing Afro-Cobra Kool-Aid colors here. I didn't have to ask how you learned to give so much. That was all Inez and Yura, the house full of brothers and sisters who loved hard and loud like you love our dear mother, like I love my son and daughter, the sugar in the living. There is no shame in being a man of heart and shedding tears from fear of losing all that has led you this far. But the lessons didn't leave with you. I grow to keep a kitchen clean, a pot burning, the fish hot and the beer cold. I stack vinyl and keep Sun Ra rotating like Morse code to the gods. Raised to be curious, I have questions. Like why folks always trying to take Egypt out of Africa? And what you gonna do with this art? Who is it for? Who are you gonna help? Who? A father's love is no abstract thing. It has a face with wise eyes. It stands behind you, holds you upright. It wakes you in the middle of the night with all its infinite lessons, steadies its voice, says, get up, son, get up. Peace.
Melanie A. Davis is an alt folk artist from Murray, a classically trained vocalist as comfortable singing Bobby Gentry as Bazet. She is a lifelong resident of the Ohio River Valley Basin. Davis has always had a song to share, whether as a child in the foothills of Ohio and Appalachia, along the banks of the Ohio in southern Indiana, or now amidst the low-lying hills and quiet highways of far west Kentucky. Named a Kentucky Artist to Watch by the Lexington Herald Leader, Davis is carving out a distinct space in the modern musical landscape. Please welcome Melanie A. Davis.
Thank you very much for having us. We're both very excited to be here. I'd like to thank again Rux and the Kentucky Performing Arts for having us. We're going to perform a song that's off my most recent album, Noctalgia. I have some for sale in the lobby if you'd like to take one home with you. But first, I would like to tell you the story behind the song. I wrote this after hearing an interview by a man named Corey Harvard. It was an interview with his mom, and Corey Harvard is an LGBTQ advocate down in Mobile, Alabama, and he was talking about what it was like to live in Alabama in the 90s and be gay, and obviously that was very difficult. And during one particularly tough night, he was thinking, you know, maybe he's just failed at life and maybe he should end it all. And that's a very tough place to be. And he said that the thought of his mother's love and support pulled him back from that brink like an invisible golden lasso. And then he turned that golden lasso into a net to help catch other kids who might be dealing with the same things that he had been dealing with. And that got me to thinking about the love and support we might get from the people in our lives and how we might turn around and give that love and support to someone else. And I think that's why a lot of us have gone into the work that we do. So this is a song about that. It's called Golden Lasso. Breeze dancing on the windowsill, cicadas screaming on high, hands shaking in the summer chill, tucking the stars behind each of my eyes. I think how effortless this all could be, to not forget this and yet still be free. There amidst the waves of hazy blue is a golden lasso, on the other side is you. Slow dancing with amphetamines, ditching town on a cloud, replaying words they said to me, till the tape starts writhing and tumbling out. I think how effortless this all could feel, to blur the lines between what isn't real. Just before I hit the riverbed, golden lassos pulling me, you were on its end. I've seen the beauty of a heart that wants and loves and breaks for nothing more than the privilege of the pain, the pleasure of the rain, a subtle revelation, never more to be the same, a halo of love, halo of love. Cast off the chains I made for you, shed my bramble crown. I'll find the wonder sewn into my blues, the green uncovered by the winter's plow. I think how effortless this all could be, to send out the love you had sent to me, to make the worst of it be not for naught. A golden lasso is the last of what I've got. I'll weave the rope that I was thrown, toss it to you at sea, 'cause my baby, you are not alone. The hurt you hold in you is what I've held in me. I know how effortless this all could be, to not forget this and yet still be free. There amidst the waves of hazy blue, I'll be there with the golden net, reaching out for you. I've seen the beauty of a heart that wants and loves and breaks for nothing more than the privilege of the pain, the pleasure of the rain, a subtle revelation, never more to be the same. A halo of light, halo of light. Thank you.
That was really lovely, wasn't it? Beautiful. Well, now we're heading into the part of the program that many of you have been waiting for. Tonight's conversation brings together an amazing group of Kentuckians who, despite their diverse backgrounds, sectors, and hometowns, all share something important in common. They're each doing extraordinary work to make Kentucky a better place. This long conversation style event brings together 8 featured speakers to share about what they're working on, where they come from, and what inspires them. This year's long conversation luminaries include Betty Dodson, Linda Casebeer, Dreama Gentry, Louisa Sanchez, Michael Washburn, Gabrielle Harvey, Nima Kulkarni, Deshandre Waters, and Stacey Eds Ellis. Kicking off this dialogue tonight, please join me in welcoming Savannah Barrett and Betty Dobson. Betty Dobson is a historian and advocate in Paducah, Kentucky. She's the founding director of the historic Hotel Metropolitan, an important Green Book hotel for African American travelers and a notable stop for performers traveling the Chitlin Circuit. Betty has played a vital role in preserving the landmark and in sharing the story of Maggie Steed, the African American woman who opened the hotel in 1908. In 2023, Betty was appointed by Governor Beshear to chair the Kentucky African American Heritage Commission, an organization she has served with since 2021. So please welcome Betty and Savannah.
Betty Dobson, what a joy to welcome you to the stage. We met 10 years ago. We got a little money for Rucks from the Kentucky Arts Council to expand to Paducah, and one of the first people I met, thanks to Nathan Blakeland, was you. The video mentioned earlier how Rucks kind of started out with folks staying in each other's houses and camping in backyards, and Hotel Metropolitan was the first place we stayed all together in a nice space. So thank you for that.
More than welcome.
It's been a long journey, my friend, and tonight I want to take you way back, 26 years, to when you first got involved in starting the Hotel Metropolitan in its current era. For those of you who don't know, the Hotel Metropolitan has a really long, important history, a very storied history. It's a landmark on the African American Heritage Trail. It's one of the places that started it all, and it is the place that started it all for you, Betty. What inspired you?
What inspired me was my children. And first I wanted to say I'm so proud to be here with you, Savannah, and I'm so proud of what you have done over the 10 years since I've met you, and you should be very proud of that. And thank you.
You're on the front stage.
Can't help it. But to your question, I was inspired by my children. Like any parent, you always want the best for your kids. And so there was a need in our community to provide a store. And that store was, for the community. But it showed us another need that was there, and that need was to save the Hotel Metropolitan. And so it all began from there.
And here you are now, a Mellon grantee. You fully restored the hotel. You've led a lot of people towards this work, and you're the chair of the Kentucky African American Heritage Commission.
Yes.
It's a long journey for you. What have you achieved that is beyond your wildest dreams?
Well, I never dreamed that I would be the chair of the Kentucky African American Heritage Commission. So, thank you. I'm very proud of that, and want to do the best that I can to, to honor that position.
And under your leadership, I know how humble you are. I know you're about to credit other folks who helped to make this happen, but they have established the Kentucky African American Heritage Trail.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the African American Trail is it has entities on it, different groups, organizations, churches. Anything that tells the story of African American history, and cemeteries, things of that nature. And some people may say, why would I want to see something like that? Well, how could you not want to see history? Our history is your history. Our history is what makes the country great. So anytime that we could learn more about each other, I think it's a great thing. And this trail does just that. So we're very proud of it.
It's an amazing accomplishment. It's really important. I know that you're a woman of faith, Betty. In our friendship, we've shared some really inspiring moments that have connected me back to mine. I'd like to hear you reflect a little bit on, what's kept you going. I know that this 26 years hasn't been easy, but not everyone could see the same path that you could see in 1999. So what's kept you going?
Faith. My family. That's about all I could say. Without my family, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I do. In fact, I wouldn't even be here today.
Thank you for bringing Miss Betty Dobson to Louisville for this. I'd love to hear a little bit about what you think connects us as Kentuckians. What do we have in common, and what's the opportunity for us to move further into that connection?
I think our connection is love, faith, family. I think those things connect us because we always want something better for our families. So we work together to achieve those types of things. And we're all about faith, I think. Everyone may not be of the same religion, but we are of faith. I think we all draw from that.
Yeah, we are one.
Truly.
What do you think Well, that's the end of my time. Thank you so much. Thank you, Betty Dobson. Let's hear it for Betty Dobson.
Lindy Casebeer was appointed by Governor Beshear in February 2023 as the Secretary of the Tourism, Arts, and Heritage Cabinet. Casebeer was appointed Deputy Secretary for the Kentucky Personnel Cabinet in December 19 after many years as a public school educator, administrator, legislator, and nonprofit director. For 18 years, Secretary Casebeer represented Louisville in the Kentucky General Assembly, where he chaired the Senate Education Committee. He also serves on the boards of AmeriCorps, Louisville Waterfront Development Corporation, and United Way of Kentucky. Please welcome Secretary Casebeer.
Well, I am so happy that I get to interview you, Secretary Casebeer.
Oh, I'm glad that I get to be interviewed by you.
Thank you. And I have a question for you. What are our shared opportunities, challenges, And how can we work together across the region to impact these challenges?
Well, I think our shared challenges are, as Kentuckians, to make our state better than when we found it, to work together, to bridge divides, and try to overcome differences, which is the theme today. But I think we often maybe begin a process with certain thoughts in mind, certain opinions that we've come up with, but then about whatever the subject is. But then, you know, when you meet and communicate with folks, and I know that it's been mentioned about breaking bread with one another, that is often a way to kind of break down some of those barriers. I think we find out, no matter which side we come down on, that there are certain commonalities that we share, and hopefully that will bring us together to find solutions to problems and work together to make Kentucky a better place for everyone.
Thank you for that. Forgive me. Now, my next question, how does building relationships with folks who come from a different background, different ideologies, help to build civic capacity and spark new ideals?
Well, I think the more we learn about one another, and one another as a complete person, not just whatever label someone might have, or perceived a label or a perceived impression that folks might have about individuals or groups, that we can then start to overcome challenges and break down the barriers, and work together for solutions. And there's really no shortage of issues that we have to face currently, whether it's in education or in healthcare or just economic issues that impact everyone. And I think we have to work to come together as communities and then as a larger group, as a commonwealth, to take on those challenges together and work for solutions.
Thank you. That's wonderful. And also, I would like to say, we were talking about the Heritage Trail, and that was something that came from the arts tourism, right? And
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that came together with the work of many individuals that worked tirelessly to make that happen. And that shows the origins and the backgrounds of many individuals, and many individuals that have made up an amazing commonwealth for years, many years, and shows just the inner workings of communities, but also the inner self of individuals, and how folks individually might start with a cause or with a movement, but it does start with it takes one person, and then you work as a group, and folks come together, and that's often how we get things done as Kentuckians.
Well, thank you. And thank you for all that you do for the state of Kentucky.
Well, thank you. I mean, Betty, you're a trailblazer down there in Paducah, and what you've done with the Hotel Metropolitan and what that's meant for tourism, and the story behind that is just one that needs to be told, and I'm glad that you're down there telling that story, not just in Paducah, but across the Commonwealth.
Thank you.
And
Secretary Casey.
there's the second bell.
Well, Dreama Gentry is a true inspiration who works to ensure rural children, families, and places are seen, heard, and invested in. She's founder and CEO of Partners for Rural Impact, a national intermediary that works to ensure the 14 million children and youth living in rural America are on a path to upward mobility. She's a fifth-generation Appalachian Kentuckian and a graduate of Berea College and the University of Kentucky College of Law. She lives in Paint Lick with her husband, Hassan Davis, and they're the proud parents of Malcolm and Christopher. Please welcome Dreama Gentry.
Dreama, it's an honor to get to share the stage with you. And you founded PRI. When you went national, you chose to keep it in Kentucky. It's grown to 300 employees here in the Commonwealth, and that's 300 jobs that have been created and sustained here in Kentucky. You had a vision for PRI, and tell us what that vision was initially and the secret for your success.
Great, thanks. It's great to be here with you. I will say that the vision really started small. It started in Rockcastle County, Kentucky, which is where my family's from. And I always say I moved away from home, and my husband reminds me I moved 30 minutes up the road to Berea. But in Kentucky, 30 minutes is a long way. And I grew up, I was the first in my family to go to college. And it really was education that broke a lot of barriers for me, both generational poverty, but also understanding connection and belonging. I learned a lot at Berea College. And so when I started working there in Rockcastle County, it was around how do we ensure that every young person has the opportunity to actually follow their dreams. And so through the years, through the support of Berea College, through schools in Kentucky and lots of different partners, and also through federal funding, we were able to grow the work from one community across Appalachia. And then about 4 years ago, we became Partners for Rural Impact, and now we're actually working with places across the country to teach them what we're doing here in Kentucky. And folks asked me when we went national, like, will you stay here and do the work here? And actually, that here was Berea, and I was like, yeah, I'll stay here. But actually, we're wanting to take the work back to Rockcastle County, to Mount Vernon, move the headquarters there, and actually still keep the work centered in Eastern Kentucky.
Well, yeah, that deserves some applause. Berea, common thread through your remarks. I've had the opportunity through the Kentucky Center for Artisan Center in Berea to get to know folks at Berea College, and the mantra, we are all of the same blood. I think that there are so many success stories that come out of Berea. What they embed in their students, and obviously took hold with you, but just the grounding that folks get when they go to school there, and the success of so many of the alums that have gone out and made great transformation across the country and in the world. But how you got a great start there, but you want to add anything else to what Berea, the tools that they equipped you with, and the insight that you gained from being there?
Well, first of all, I met my husband there, right?
there.
So, that's a huge piece
Not
of
all
it.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the piece. And so I do think that, if you think about Berea College, it was the first interracial college in the South to educate blacks and whites, men and women. This started in 1855, 10 years before the Civil War. So we can learn a lot about Berea College and the founding, a lot from that around some of the polarization we're dealing with today in this nation. And it's also why I think Kentucky is really, I don't know, in a good place to lead, to show how that rural and urban places can come together and actually be part of the solutions. And even in our work in trying to drive dollars to support kids, to ensure they're successful through high school and on, we've had a strong partnership with folks here in Louisville through Evolve 502, the Louisville Urban League. So really coming together in Kentucky, I think we've been doing it for so long that we can be and we can stand up and be an example for the country.
The leadership that comes from so many nonprofits across the Commonwealth is so strong, and it shows. I think that probably is one area in which there are really you don't know anybody's background when they're in a nonprofit, because they're focused on the cause of that nonprofit and the success, and they are just committed to outcomes, to achieving outcomes that will benefit whatever community that nonprofit is serving. And you all have really demonstrated that.
Yeah, I think that it's when you work in a mission-driven place, but I also think the other group that really do that continually that we need to hold up is our educators. From our early childhood educators to our K through 12 teachers to our university folks that are still leading the way. I think when you're working with young people and really supporting them to be successful, it's easy to get up every day and fight the fight and keep being in there, right? And so I do think that our educators, folks in nonprofits, in a way it's a little bit easier for us to keep our eye sort of on that goal.
I started out as a high school band director, and education has always been in my blood, and there's a bond that you form with fellow educators that you keep with you. And this initiative that not to be shameless with a plug, but the initiative that the governor has for pre-K for all children, what a great equalizer that would be, and those kids would start kindergarten all on the same plane, and it would be so beneficial for down the road. So
yeah, and another way for us to lead the nation too, right?
Absolutely.
To do those kind of things.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Thank you, Lindy and Dreama. Next up, Luisa Sanchez is a senior at Boyle County High School and the cross-organizational coordinator of the Kentucky Student Voice Team. She's also a writer and editor for the team's independent education journalism platform, The New EDU. As a member of KSVT, she aims to empower Kentucky students to use their voices to build up an education system that values and serves them. Outside of the organization, she is part of her school's academic team, arts academy, and various school clubs. Please welcome Luisa.
So welcome, and it's great to have a chat with you. I'm curious about the Student Voice Team and why you've leaned in and why you're spending your time on the Kentucky Student Voice Team. So tell us more.
Yeah, so I can start with a little bit of my background and just sort of what draws me to this work. So something I'm very passionate about is education justice. I think that as a society, we should be making a lot more investments in education because our culture, the policy landscape, our economy, it is all impacted by education. And so we should really focus on having more robust networks within education because it is at the core of our democracy. And so to protect it, I think we should be doing a lot of more advocacy work. And that's on a little bit more of on a technical level, but really, so I'm Colombian, I'm an immigrant, and to me, education is sort of my American dream. My family came to this country because of education, because they wanted me to have access to that so that I could have a better future. But then I came here and not everything's perfect, and there's a lot of work that can be done. And so the Kentucky Student Voice team is a team formed of 100 or so young people from across the state. And we are young people working to co-create more just and democratic schools throughout the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And we do so through storytelling, research, policy, and now also litigation. I can talk right now about storytelling. So I am a part of the New EDU, our independent newsroom, which is the only youth-led independent newsroom in the Commonwealth. A lot of people say that storytelling is a passive form of advocacy, but through storytelling, I get to highlight students in action and working to make their communities better. So it's very profound work, and I get to talk to awesome young people and then write about them, and it's amazing.
And I'll say that working across the country with education, we hear about the Kentucky Student Voice team across the nation because you all are held up as like the gold standard for actually elevating student voice. Why do you think Kentucky, this has flourished in Kentucky? Why Kentucky?
Yeah, I can talk about that in relation to our litigation work. So on January 14, I stood at the front of the Capitol, and with the Kentucky Student Voice team as organizational plaintiffs, we sued the state of Kentucky for failing to uphold our constitutional rights to a quality education. And the inspiration for that is actually the 1989 Rose case. And that was a landmark Supreme Court decision that set forth 7 Rose capacities. And actually states throughout the country, like Massachusetts and Kansas, took inspiration from the Rose case and integrated those adequacy standards into their own state constitutions. And so truly, Kentucky, on a historical basis, is positioned very uniquely, but then also Kentuckians care about education. We've seen that even in November when all 120 Kentucky counties voted to defeat Amendment 2. Education is one of the biggest employers in Kentucky communities, and so we should be working to make it better because Kentuckians care about their education.
They do, and I think it's great to have young people actually having a voice to care. So when we think about being here today, and we've heard about coming together across differences, against different geographies, different ideologies, how do you integrate that into the Kentucky Voice team work?
Yeah, so I can talk about our Roads Revival campaign. So from 2024, all throughout that year, we led 6 Roads Revival forums all across the state to assess whether or not Kentucky was meeting its constitutional right to a quality education. And we talked to thousands and thousands of community members in Hazard County, in Corbin, in Lexington, in Louisville, to really hear about perspectives from Kentucky people, and all of those roundtables and community forums were led by young people. Mm-hmm. And so what that did was that it really, we got to talk to a lot of different people from different backgrounds who had a lot of different perspectives. And all of that enriches our work because then we can amplify the voices of people who are the least heard in order to diversify education and also make it better.
Great. And what's next for you? I know you're a senior this year, so what's next?
It depends where I get scholarships. So I always say where the money is at, that's where I'll be.
All right. So, that's what I did. It works.
So I'm not sure, but I know that if I go here in Kentucky or outside of it, I'll be fine because it's all about finding community. And then after you find your group of cheerleaders, you can rule the world, truly. So, yeah.
And I think you have a whole bigger group of cheerleaders here today. So thank you. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for taking the time to volunteer and do this while a student.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dreama and Louisa. Michael Washburn is the executive director of an organization I'm really thankful for, Kentucky Waterways Alliance, where he leads environmental restoration and protection rooted in community, policy, advocacy, and civic trust building. With prior leadership roles in the public humanities, he brings a cross-sector approach to environmental justice and nonprofit strategy. He has expanded KWA's staff and reach, strengthened statewide coalitions, and championed clean water in underserved regions. Please welcome Michael Washburn.
Thank you all. I feel like I should just ask you some questions, honestly.
Michael, you are doing some awesome work within with the Kentucky Waterways Project, and I was wondering, how does your work center civic engagement?
You know, I sometimes say that KWA is a civic engagement organization, and I feel like people look at me out of their side of the eye, but it makes very much sense within a room like this. But a little bit about the organization and why I actually think it is civic engagement. KWA has been around for about 32 or 33 years. Our mission is to protect, restore, and celebrate the waterways of the Commonwealth. We do dam removals, we put in septic systems, we have a grant program, we work on water quality, and we also do state and federal policy, right? Or advocate for sound state and federal policies. But because of that, people have started to think that we're actually a science organization. And even the organization began to think of itself as a science organization, when it's not. Like, what we are actually about is an organization that, through water, creates the conditions for individual and community flourishing. And science is just our tool. And I think that that's a way that a lot of folks really need to be thinking about almost all the nonprofits in the nonprofit ecosystem in the state of Kentucky right now. You know, everyone has their own mission, but when it comes down to what civil society really is, and when it comes down to the way you activate communities and get them engaged, it's through organizations that are nonprofits. So even though our mission is very much focused on the 90,000 miles of waterways that are in the state, I think that it's really about engendering notions of care, or amplifying notions of care, or empowering people to feel like they can just in the moment claim agency over the health of their creek or their river, and then slowly build up from that to make change in Frankfurt and DC for the better stewardship of the communities and for the waters that we all rely on. If that makes sense.
That's so cool. So you just mentioned a lot of technical stuff.
I've already forgotten it all.
It sounded like you work a lot with engineers and people in that sector. But how does your unique humanities background influence and impact your work?
So yeah, KWA has always been led by water policy folks or environmental engineers. I am not either of those. My background is all literature and philosophy, and I ran cultural organizations for a long time. All right, yeah. I guess the glib thing to say is, like, I've learned that everything's an argument by being like a professional humanist, right? But when it comes down to it, my job, so I'm from Louisville, but I lived in a bunch of other places. And my job before KWA was as director of programs for an organization called Humanities New York, one of the state humanities councils. Bill Goodman runs the run here in Kentucky. And how I describe that job is it's about getting people in rooms together who are not normally in rooms together to talk about things they don't normally talk about. And that right there is a lot of what we're talking about here today. And what that really relies on, and this is where it might become a bummer in a second, what that really is looking at democracy as sort of habits of being, sort of a way of cultural negotiation, sort of informal democratic institutions that oftentimes overlook that democracy is also a form of rule, right? And that's one of the things that we've been dealing with right now. It is overall a form of rule. And by privileging too much these cultural components, things can be taken advantage of. So I guess what I'm saying, that it's made me very pretentious in the way that I talk about my work. But it's really about being attuned to translating things that are oftentimes seen as complex, and rendering complexity in a way that both is alive, but also doesn't really sand off the edges of the things that are under discussion, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question?
You know what? Somewhat, yeah.
Somewhat. Somewhat. Ask a follow-up.
Yeah.
Ask a clarifying question.
So, how do you connect people with the work that you do, especially because waterways, it can be complicated stuff. So how do you work around that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is that we're not at all prescriptive. We're not at all top-down. Everything that Kentucky Waterways Alliance does is done in conjunction with members of the communities. They will bring us issues that they would like us to work on. We have staff that are embedded in communities in Eastern Kentucky where we do a lot of septic assistance installation, right? It isn't so much that folks need to understand the technical details of a dam removal, right? I can't even define the word bathymetry, although it gets used a lot in that context. But as long as people understand that you have, ecological flourishing and you are going to be, or you're working to remove a dam in order to sort of cultivate ecological flourishing or rehabilitation of a habitat, and at the same time is removing something that is an incredible public health threat because low-head dams are drowning machines, right? They don't actually need to understand the hydrology behind that, but they also understand that they do need to understand. And the way that we can really get to them is by in conversation in communities, addressing their needs and showing how the technical stuff that we do is going to address community needs, right? The technicalities of it aren't really the issue at all, ever, I don't think. At least that's not the way I approach it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just in a quick couple of seconds, why should people care about your work and be involved in it?
What was that?
Why should people be involved in that work?
I mean, there are 90,000 miles of waterways in Kentucky, right? That's more than any state than Alaska. Right? We all live in a watershed. We're all in the Ohio River Basin. Any way you want to define your local community is in a watershed. That is both a cultural and a political organizing unit, and they are all under threat. So you can look at it, if you look at the 205,000 square mile Ohio River Basin and want to worry about that, you can come talk to us. If you want to talk about Beargrass Creek here in Louisville, you can come talk to us. If there's any lake or creek, we're willing, if we don't have the capacity or the manpower or the staff power to actually be there in the water with you, we can provide tools, we can provide funding, anything that will help you guys make it a better tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you, Louisa and Michael. Dr. Gabrielle Gabby Harvey is a social worker, therapist, advocate, and community educator. She is a Coharie tribal member of Clinton, North Carolina. With a background in communications, marketing, and social work from Indiana University and the University of Louisville, Gabby is a board member for the Appalachian Rekindling Project, a guest panel speaker and presenter for the Kentucky Native American Heritage Commission and Kentuckians for the Commonwealth. She's a member of the Auntie Network and a volunteer with the American Indian Women of Proud Nations. Please welcome Dr. Gabrielle Harvey.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, nice to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Yeah.
Since backstage. The Appalachian Rekindling Project is doing a lot of really great dynamic work, sort of the intersection of land, community, and renewal. But I'm not sure a lot of folks here really know about it. So I guess for the first little bit of time we have, can you just say a little bit about the organization and then also what drew you to them and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, the Appalachian Rekindling Project is a land revitalization project in eastern Kentucky and parts of Virginia where it's essentially part of the land back movement that the indigenous communities have been working on. And we have, taken back land that was originally indigenous owned many years ago, revitalizing that by making sure that there's native plants that are native to that area, trees, and then we'll be bringing bison back into the area to help reshape and regrow the areas as well. And then we're also working on a project to create an intertribal community center where people of any tribe or any tribal background can utilize the space for connection, community, wellness retreats, events, things like that. So what kind of drew me to it is, I'm a social worker, and so most of my work has been done in the addiction recovery, substance use disorder, and so obviously the Appalachian area was hit very hard with the opioid epidemic several years ago and is still recovering from that. So I've worked with a lot of clients that are from that area. I also have family from that area. And then Tiffany, the founder of the project, I met her kind of very organically at a indigenous wellness workshop retreat back in April. and heard her story and kind of where the project came from. And she was looking for another board member and then someone that can do like social media posting and blogging and things like that. And I did that in a former life, so I was like, oh, sign me up. But just the project that she's doing is really great, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Great, thank you. You're a member of the Coharie tribe,
Correct.
North Carolina.
Yes.
And there's indigeneity is incredibly intimately connected to the work that the Appalachian Reclaiming Project is doing. What are some lessons that non-Indigenous communities can learn about the notion of community, to use that word 3 times really quickly, that you oftentimes think are overlooked? Sort of what are some of the indigenous concepts or habits of being that you think that other folks could really learn a lot from?
First, I want to say I will speak for myself and my own experience, and not all Indigenous people, we're not all the same. But I think when it comes to Indigenous communities, one thing that I have learned and continue to learn is that it's very warm and welcoming. And that when it comes to, in respects to the Appalachian Rekindling Project, you know, Indigenous people are taught from very early on to respect all aspects of nature, all aspects of people, and that we are all one, that no one is better than the other. And I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways from that, from our community, is to know that, you know, we want to give back to the land that we live on. It's not ours to take or to own, and I think that's what the project stands for, along with like the whole land back movement that's taken over all across the country with national parks and different things like that. So just knowing that like we are not better than the person standing next to us. You know, we're not above or below. We're all equal. And I think that's a huge lesson and something to remember, especially in today's climate.
That's great, thanks. And we had a conversation last week, I think, and we were talking about notions of resilience. You know, there's a lot of things coming, right? Climate change is coming to Kentucky in a couple of ways, floodings, tornadoes, et cetera. And we were talking to some extent, again, only speaking for yourself, but we were talking about notions of resilience and what can be drawn from, or what lessons you think can be drawn from your history or from the tribal history when it comes to learning lessons about resilience.
Yeah, I think being resilient is obviously, you know, not giving up, being strong both mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. When it comes to resilience for the Indigenous community, along with, you know, other cultures and backgrounds, we were a culture and community that essentially they tried to erase us altogether. And so, like, me being here is obviously proof that we're still here, we can't be erased. So that just speaks volumes to what resiliency means. And I think that, you know, that the Native American presence might not be as prominent in like the Louisville area, or that's not the culture that I grew up around. So that was kind of part of my backstory, was that I didn't know I was Indigenous until I was a teenager. And so just kind of fighting through that, and then also seeking that community, has been a big part of my adult life. So.
Thank you for that. Really quickly, what are some ways folks can get involved with the work that Appalachian Rekindling Project is doing?
Yeah, so we have a website, the AppalachianRekindlingProject.org. There's also an Instagram page. You can get involved by finding out the area that you live on, what tribal land it originally was connected to. You can donate. You can be part of the volunteer crew with the revitalization projects of planting trees, plants, things like that. We have a lot going on, opportunity, so just reach out.
Great. I feel like I'm going to start posing a question that's going to ring.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes, thank you, please. Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you.
Oh, awkward silence.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing this. It's been great to meet you. I would love to hear more about your story. Your personal background was pretty great as well.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael and Gabby. Nima Kulkarni is the founder and executive director of the New Americans Initiative. In 2018, Nima became the first Indian immigrant to be elected in the history of the Kentucky legislature. She currently represents the 40th district in Louisville, which includes the U of L and Churchill Downs, As a legislator, Nima focused her work on issues of economic, social, racial, and environmental justice and has dedicated her time as a public servant to helping the most vulnerable Kentuckians. Since 2010, she has also managed her own immigration law practice, helping others achieve the American dream. Please welcome Nima.
Hi, Nima.
Hello.
Hi, it's so good to be connected with you through this opportunity. So for folks that might not know, can you kind of explain a little bit on the work that you do as an immigration attorney and the organization that you run?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been an immigration attorney for about the past 15 years, and I've been an elected official in the State House for the last 6. And the New Americans Initiative was really born out of the idea and the concept that our foreign-born and immigrant and refugee communities aren't as civically engaged as they need to be. They are not engaged. They're not made to be engaged politically or electorally or around issues. And so I think one of the reasons that I wanted to make sure that we were able to mobilize and strengthen the voice of that community was by getting them on a path to civic engagement, by first providing them a pathway to citizenship, making sure that they're registered voters, and then keeping them engaged not only electorally, but as advocates for issues that concern their own communities. And how we do that is essentially through legal workshops, so green card legal workshops, making sure that newly naturalized citizens are registered to vote. If anyone here has not been to a naturalization ceremony, I highly recommend it. It is one of the most joyful and wholesome things that you're ever going to see, because it is a long and difficult and expensive journey to become a United States citizen. It is not easy at all, and it is not something that is very accessible to a lot of people. So we're currently the only organization that's able to provide these services for free, thanks to the support that we've gotten through grants and donations. But I think one of the things that we need to understand is the numbers of people that we're talking about. I mean, there's tens of thousands of people that are eligible for citizenship right now. There's tens of thousands that are eligible for voter registration, and there's just so many of them that are already registered voters and are just not engaged. So they're just not showing up in Frankfurt. They're not showing up at Metro Council meetings. They're not showing up at the polls. And really the through line for New Americans Initiative is making sure that we have civic engagement and full civic participation from our immigrant and refugees throughout Kentucky.
Yeah. It's incredible work that you're doing. I know whenever we spoke last week, you mentioned that Louisville is the fourth spot in the country
Fourth
for
highest
spot,
rate
right,
in
for
the country.
refugees and immigrants. So, speaking on that, and this whole thing about community, what impact does the refugee and immigrant communities have specifically to Louisville or the state of Kentucky in comparison to the rest of the country?
Yeah, I mean, immigrants have built, right, this country. They are incredibly important to some of our signature industries, obviously our horse industry, our bourbon industry, tourism, hospitality. I don't know that I need to reiterate to anyone in this room how important our refugee and immigrant communities are to sectors like healthcare, like manufacturing, like construction. They bring in billions of dollars in tax revenue, even those that are undocumented. And that's something that people don't understand, is that the IRS will take your money. They don't really care about your immigration status. They'll issue you what's called an individual tax identification number, but you're not going to get any benefit. These are folks paying into our Social Security and our Medicare. They're not going to see any of that benefit. What they're hoping for is the day that Congress fixes our immigration system, right? The last amnesty that we had was President Reagan in 1986, and it was Congressman Mazzoli from Kentucky that was a co-sponsor of that. That's it. I mean, think about how far back that was, and just the utter failure of Congress. And I'm not talking about any one party. It's just they've failed for decades to fix our immigration system, which is why we're seeing the horrific policies that we're seeing today. They've been able to be implemented because of the failure of the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And then along with that, in the previous segment, we kind of mentioned resiliency. I think it's safe to say that the communities that you work with, the communities I work with and that I'm from are ones that obviously encompass what resiliency is. So what things do you see in resiliency with the folks that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, I've shared this story about our legal workshop. So one of the first families that I was able to help in our green card legal adjustment workshop last year was a mother and her 3 daughters from Congo, from the DRC, who had been living for the past 23 years in a Tanzanian refugee camp before they made it to Louisville. Her 3 daughters were all born there. And the fact that they were not green card holders means that they would not be eligible for things like in-state tuition. She wouldn't be eligible for home loans or business loans. And just being able to help them submit this 24-page form to the government would get them that benefit and help them put down roots here in our community. So I think it is incredibly important to understand that these folks, what they have gone through to come here, and that they just want to live and work and raise their families like we all do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the country's been built on immigration and refugees. Lastly, are there any kind of like stereotypes? You know, I think that's something that's prominent in my community. Is that something that you see and hear a lot of, and any that you would want to kind of clear up?
Yeah, well, I mean, they all need to be cleared up. I mean, some of the rhetoric you'll hear about immigrants, that they're stealing jobs, they're criminals, they're coming here and bringing diseases. Those are like words that have been used since the 1790s in this country. And I want to just reiterate the fact that these stereotypes and this divisiveness exists to divide each of us here, right? So they pit indigenous people against other immigrants. They pit the black community against immigrants. And it's just the horrific things that we've seen in this world and in this country are only allowable if we let them divide us.
Yeah. Thank you. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Nina and Gabby. Deshandre Waters is a homegrown entrepreneur and community advocate from Louisville. Deshandre graduated Pleasure Ridge Park High School in 2004 and was an attendee of Kentucky State University. He and his family are the proud owners of the Waters Family Bottling Company. Their mission is one of inclusion, opportunity, and elevation. Waters has dedicated himself to being the change that he wants to see. He inspires younger generations to pursue personal elevation and being committed to causes bigger than themselves. In Louisville, he has become an agent of change and a catalyst for grassroots community support, development, and proactive violence intervention, including through No More Red Dots. Please welcome Deshandre.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. I'm excited to talk about what Louisville has going on.
Absolutely. Thank you, too.
Yeah, and it's amazing, I think, the work that you're doing. I'm going to go out of order. We kind of talked about the questions ahead of time. One of the things that I wanted to bring up, because it's a very short amount of time that we have, is your work as a violence interrupter with No More Red Dots and just everything that you do in your daily life. I saw an interview that you did recently, and something that you said really resonated with me. You said that you yourself are a statistic, but that you chose to take your number back. And I think that framing is so powerful. I wonder if you would just talk about that particular perspective and what you do every day to help the youth in our community.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. And I guess it goes back to what Silas had read in the bio, commitment to being the change that I want to see. Coming up in the environment that we come up in, or that I've come up in, there were certain preconceived notions about us, not necessarily always positive. And sad to say, I lived up to some of those things, and they made me a statistic, you know what I mean? But as I got a bit older and I started to give back to my community in the ways that I knew could positively affect it, I wanted to embrace the fact that I was a statistic and the fact that I have an opportunity to take that number back so it can be an inspiration for other young people as well. Thank you. I appreciate that. In the field of violence interruption, one of the main characteristics that we have to be a credible messenger is trauma. being a part of a gang or growing up in a certain environment, going to prison, or understanding these inner workings. And that trauma is absolutely what's necessary in order to help other people heal. So on the daily, that's what I do. Savannah said something about neuroplasticity, and that's what I want to do. Help sure young people from the environments that I'm from have the mental space or the ideal conditions to change their mindset.
That's amazing. Thank you for
Thank
all
you.
the work
Thank
that you
y'all.
do. So, given that your perspective and all of the folks that you work with, the different communities that you work with, and especially the young people that you work with, what have you seen or learned from them that would help us build a greater collective capacity for civic engagement in your work or throughout Kentucky?
Absolutely. So the young people, despite their efforts to push us away, despite their efforts to not want to listen, they actually really do. They want to be engaged. They want to learn new things. And where I'm at in violence interruption in the community in which I'm at, the young people are eager to learn. I don't know if the arts or the learning of civics in school has diminished, but as they're into our programs and I talk about civics or being productive members of society, and in my mind, productive members of society also means voting, understanding, you know what I mean, being able to hold offices that represent the people, and they're eager to learn those things because, I mean, just, the system and way that things are set up now, they're not too engaged. I am also hurt sometimes by the fact that they don't understand certain things about civics, and that's why we pursue or continue to pursue and make that a part of the programs in which we create.
That's amazing. I want to go back to something you mentioned about trauma. And there's generational trauma, and there's cycles of trauma. And of course, we see that in the refugee communities that are coming over here. Not a lot of them have access to resources to address that trauma because everyone has more important things, just trying to survive every day, just trying to put food on the table, just trying to keep a roof over their family's head. So this idea of addressing trauma and fixing it and healing is just not top of mind for a lot of folks. So when you're talking about especially kids that have been experiencing this trauma, young people, how do you show them the importance of being engaged, being advocates, being outspoken and informed about the things that they're concerned about?
Absolutely. So through our programs, we got a program me and my brother created called Opportunities for Options, and we have 4 core principles. And through those core principles, I think we give the individuals a baseline learning for respect for themselves and others, discipline and accountability, peace and positive action, and mental and physical wellness. And with those things, we believe those are a catalyst to help them drive toward more positive and more meaningful engagement. You know what I mean? The tools that they need to help themselves up. In our area or in our world and what we do, a lot of people had always thought that we change individuals. No, all we do is give tools for individuals to make that change for themselves. So that's what we do. We just use our programs and our core principles, and hopefully those principles, as we establish our collective morals and values, just lead them toward a positive, a positive light all in every area.
It's such important work. And so what, in this last few seconds that we have, what are the challenges or the gaps that you see? What would stop you from being able to reach every youth throughout Kentucky?
The major thing, funding, obviously, funding, the lack of resources, you know what I mean, and just maybe the political landscape. And I don't want to delve into that. We'll be here until Easter, but just as long as those things aren't impediments, and then we're going to continue to do what we do, whether or not we have 20 kids or 62 kids in our program, basically revolves around some of those other things. I think we do a good job with connecting with other individuals and making coalitions, so we do our best with those, but funding and adequate resources for us to house our people.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the work
Absolutely.
that you do.
Thank you, Nima.
Thank you, Nima and Dre. Well, Stacey Eds Ellis is the executive director of the Greater Owensboro Leadership Institute, a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization she has led since its founding in fall 2022. Under her leadership, the Institute advances its mission to nurture civic leadership and grow civic capacity. Eds Ellis spent 20 years at Owensboro Community and Technical College, including 6 years as Dean of Academic Affairs. She holds a PhD in Administration and Organizational Development from U of L and earned both graduate and undergrad degrees in Organizational Communication at Western, where she continues to teach graduate courses and received the University Award for Part-Time Instruction in 2019. Please welcome Stacey Eds Ellis.
Good afternoon, Miss Stacy. How are you doing?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I know we talked a lot in the back, and we went over our questions as well, but I have another question that I kind of wanted to ask you to start. Your work, how do you, being that I'm a grassroots guy, I always want to know how certain work is infused. So how do the work that you do infuse grassroots issues?
Sure. So our work is based just on that, grassroots issues. Okay. And at the Greater Owensboro Leadership Institute, a few things that we're working on for our community are focusing on leadership and community training, helping people understand that you can lead anytime, anywhere, that you don't necessarily have to be in a position of power or authority or being elected official to make a difference in your community. So that's the premise that we operate from. And we've spent the last 2 years working with a group out of Bethesda, Maryland, called the Harwood Institute for Public Innovation. And what the Harwood group has done for our community is give us tools to do just that. So we have hosted well over 75 community conversations. We've trained people on how to do those. We have trained people on how to theme what we've learned and then ultimately act on that. So our work is at the heart of concerns and aspirations and our own residents doing the work. And the good news is they are. We have teams formed in the areas of youth, arts, housing and homelessness, and health. And those are all big issues, but a little at a time we can carry that forward as a community.
Absolutely, that's great right there. And that's not necessarily a concern for me, but something that is always at the forefront. We're building coalitions here in the city to combat violence, and there's always other organizations at the table, but I want people to be empowered to do those things that people can do. So with that being said, why do you do your work here, in Kentucky?
Sure. So I'm from Kentucky. I've always lived in Western Kentucky. And, the work is important for us in the moment, but it's also important for our community in Kentucky in the future. So there's plenty of things that we can find that divide us and isolate us, but our work is really focused on connecting people and listening and making things happen. And it seems like a real simple formula, but somewhere along the way, we've lost some of that. So we're seeing great results with that in our community. And we're going to keep on doing it and rolling the ball forward and making ripple effects, hopefully not only in our community, but across Kentucky as well.
That's great, connecting people. I love that. That's my favorite attribute for myself as well. But how has your work been able to flourish here? What has allowed your work to flourish?
Sure. I think one aspect that allows our work to flourish, as a community in Kentucky and as a Kentuckian, we have great pride for the places that we live. We have a great sense of showing up for each other and helping one another, and often that shines through in a time of crisis, but not necessarily every day. So our work is trying to capitalize on that spirit and make it something that we do every day, not just when times are bad. We need that spirit to carry us through disasters and uncertainty and disagreements, but we also need that to help break down silos in our community and connect with each other.
Absolutely, I most certainly agree. What are our shared opportunities and challenges, and how can we work together across regions to impact those?
Yeah. So, when I think about our shared opportunities and challenges, and I think across Kentucky, there are many that we share that, slice through all geographical divides. And things that come to mind are things like educational attainment, workforce development, health, educational opportunities, for our youngest preschool children, preserving our waterways, like we talked about earlier. There's just so much that connect and unite us. So as we think about those things, and I work on those in my community, and you work on those in your community, and we come together with organizations like this, we can amplify our impact even more. So even though I've heard the bell, like 8 times, it still scares me. Anyways, we have a real opportunity to work together across Kentucky and across our community, and harness that spirit I talked about earlier, but think of it in the ways of being inclusive and moving Kentucky forward.
Absolutely. And before we go, obviously me and you represent 2 different communities, even if we're talking about Owensboro or McClinton County and Jefferson County. How will you use this time here at Rux to help with your own personal mission?
Sure. Well, before we showed up today, you and I shared a story with each other, right? We were getting to know each other over here before the event started, and we didn't know back in August we were sitting across rival stadiums with our sons playing football against each other. But here we found out that we have a lot more in common, right, than we thought we did that day. So I think that's just a great story of what we can take away.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you, Stacy and Dre. Well, these conversations remind me that even though we're in a challenging political climate, there are Kentuckians from every corner of the Commonwealth who are committed not to what divides us, but instead to how much we have in common. Thank you to each of our speakers for the long conversation. Well, we have 2 more folks for you as we aim for the conclusion of our program this afternoon. First up will be our 86th Kentucky Secretary of State, Michael G. Adams. Secretary Adams graduated from McCracken County Public Schools, was the first in his family to get a bachelor's degree, and attended Harvard Law School on low-income aid. His work in making it easy to vote and hard to cheat has earned praise throughout the country and across party lines. This year, the John F. Kennedy Library Foundation presented Secretary Adams with the prestigious JFK Profile and Courage Award, which recognizes public servants who have risked their careers by putting the public interests ahead of their own political standing. Please join me in welcoming Secretary Adams.
Good afternoon. I'm proud to appear at my 3rd Rux Golden Thread. If Kentucky feels a little less divided today, a little more united, it's because of this event, all of you, and all you're doing to bring us together. Or maybe we can credit the fact that this year we don't have any statewide elections. You're welcome. Enjoy it while you can. Last year, I spoke about how seeing the state seal every day at my office inspires me. 2 Kentuckians, one in formal dress, one in buckskin, shaking hands, along with the motto, "United we stand, divided we fall." Our differences are deep in our DNA and have been from the beginning. But as the seal shows us, so have mutual respect and cooperation. Something else I see every day at my office is plaques placed along the walls honoring inductees into the Kentucky Veterans Hall of Fame. So many Kentuckians, including both my grandfathers, have valiantly served our country in uniform. What makes the Hall of Fame members unique is not only have they gone above and beyond the call of duty and distinguished themselves through their bravery, they also have excelled in civilian life as leaders in their communities. At a time we so desperately need positive leadership and active citizenship, those names remind me of what we are capable of. It is said that hard times produce strong people produce good times produce weak people produce hard times. If we're in hard times now, that just means that we are producing strong people who will lead us forward and bring us out. If I had a magic wand to cure our current ills, I would have waved it by now. But there is a solution on the horizon, and it is localism. Kentucky gets criticism for its provincial ways, and sometimes that's fair. But there's a silver lining to focusing more on our communities than on the exhausting daily battles of Washington, D.C. Our lifestyles are changing. In the 20th century, we spent most of our leisure time with other people. Today, on average, we spend just 34 minutes a day, 11% of our leisure time, visiting with friends or attending or hosting social events. That's an average, but not everyone does that. In 2005, 40% of Americans engaged in face-to-face leisure. Today, that number is only 29%. When we don't know each other, we don't trust each other or work with each other. When we buy online, when we organize online, when we get our information online, that's fine to an extent, but if we go too far, we miss out on something, one another. That's where Rux comes in. No pressure. Gathering together, celebrating our shared culture, talking about our commonalities, this is how we bring Kentucky and America back from the brink, and it starts right here. Our state's greatest challenges, I believe, are in education and housing. We are 45th out of 50 states in education. Our kids outcompete other states at 4th grade. They hold their own in 8th grade, and they fall behind by 12th grade. We will be roadkill in the 21st century if we don't fix this. In housing, we are today 125,000 homes short of what we need to house our people. The average Kentucky household makes $20,000 less than is needed to own the average Kentucky home. Only about 10% of our housing stock was built in the last 10 years. Not only do we need new homes, but many old homes are due for replacement. Over the next quarter century, we'll need to add between 360 and 530,000 new homes. So I was asked to make optimistic remarks. Why am I saying this? It is because these problems are non-ideological and apolitical. We agree on the facts. That doesn't always happen anymore. We all want to do better, and with no obvious boogeyman, no tribe to blame for our shortcomings, these crises are an opportunity because we can come together to solve them and then hopefully build the muscle memory to start taking on our other shared challenges. If we can come together across partisan, ideological, geographic, and demographic lines to reform election policy, the third rail of today's politics, then we can do the same with every other challenge before us. So, let's get on it. Time's wasted. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Secretary Adams. Well, folks, we've shared a beautiful afternoon focused on hope, which we need so much right now. Before we go, we have one more treat. Nicholas Jamerson happens to be one of my favorites, and I'm really glad to share the stage with him tonight. I admire his commitment to the arts and to the environment. He's a remarkable singer-songwriter. He hails from Prestonsburg. He is an old soul who writes earnest songs filled with heart. Nicholas Jamerson's songs spin tales of Southern Gothic drama woven with an intricate emotional framework, underscored with delicate Americana instrumentation and country folk melodies. He began his career as half of the duo Sunday Best and has since embarked on a solo career that showcases both his remarkable vocal and instrumental skill and his outstanding abilities as a songwriter. Please welcome Nicholas Jamerson.
This is Mr. Aaron Smith on the fiddle. I did not know that this existed until some 5 months ago when Grace Rogers dipped into my email box, and it gives me so much hope to know that gatherings like this are taking place. It's not, I spoke to many people today, and change is subtle. It's a seasonal effort, and those kind of things don't make for good headlines. So it's easy. I'm a fourth generation Floyd Countyan over in eastern Kentucky. My great-grandmother moved from Knott County after she ran a boarding house, and she married my grandfather, who was from Martin, Kentucky, who went to med school here in Louisville, and that was the early 1900s, and I always heard tell that he would ride the river. He would ride trees up the river to get on a train around Ashland and ride it to Louisville. And they would let him come to school late because he worked all summer to pay for his school. And so my earliest days were rooted in people that were rooted in a different time, born in the early 1900s. Weathered a Great Depression and 2 World Wars, and we're all educated as well. And the theme of education keeps getting brought up, and education, it's changed over the definition of education has changed in my life and what it is. 3 of my grandparents were high school principals. My dad was a teacher, and I think the thing that education does, it expands your peripheral to just people that are different than you. And that was the main thing as an alumni of the University of Pikeville. It was just being around people that didn't look like me. And you get into the nuances of a person by time spent. And I think that as we all talk about solutions, I think it just feels like time spent together, breaking bread, and just finding common ground. And I think that that's what music does for me more than anything, is we step into the moment, and all the polarizing labels, they cease to exist. And this first song is about those people. It's about my grandparents. It's about it's kind of this realization. I've been a musician all my life, but you know, the American dream of you go to school and you get a job and you get lost kind of in the grind. And then I did that, and I reached 30 and had an existential crisis because I was like, I'm an adult, and how did this is not what it's supposed to be like. And about that time, my grandmother moved in with my dad, and in those pursuits, the family home began to deteriorate. The hillside took it first, and then the addicts and homeless people began to squat in it. And I began to think about what was I pursuing. And all these pursuits, I wasn't around to preserve something that was priceless. And it began this whole deconstruction in my 30s. And I'll talk about that a little more. But this song is for all those out there that have watched their communities die, change. They had to sell off grandma's farm. It's called "It's a Long Way to Wheelwright." Well, Granny moved the family piano from the boarding house up the road, and the New York company Rudolph with 2 fresh bullet holes, where Mary learned to sing on her hymnals, Virginia danced her jigs. Shorty, he'd tune up the banjo while Julie fed the kid. But it's a long way to Wheelwright, with the sleep running through my eyes. Her chariot awaits the sweet by and by. All of on the draw hustling has left most folks behind. It's a long way to Wheelwright. I hope we make it there tonight. Well, Daddy, he sure loved the junction, always proud as he could be, living in his Creekwater mansion next to Doc Osborne's Sundries. A boom town is a young'un, and it goes down as a man. No, there ain't much left here for packing, son. Yeah, we've taken all we can. It's a long way to Wheelwright, with the sleep running through my eyes. Her chariot awaits the sweet by and by. All along the draw hustling has left most folks behind. It's a long way to Wheelwright. I hope we make it there tonight. Well, that time was my pleasure, and those days were made of gold. And this all of my time spent at the bluegrass picking show.
with the sleep running through my eyes. Her chariot awaits the sweet by and by. All along the draw hustling has left most folks behind. It's a long way to Wheelwright. I hope we make it there tonight. I hope we make it there tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Another part of my deconstruction was my faith. Anybody that's from Eastern Kentucky, a lot of people, we were in church every Sunday morning, every Sunday evening, and Wednesday, because there's not anything else to do besides go to the ball games. And I think that when you're growing up and you're in church, those things are just with no frame of reference. It's just kind of dead theology. It's just facts. It's just I'm right and you're wrong. That was how it felt to me. And a lot of my last record that I did was about my religious angst that I had and the way that I feel like it's been used and abused to attack the oppressed instead of lift up the oppressed. And this song is just me sort of laying down all my qualms and surrendering it to a higher power. This song's called One With You. Lord, let me live again like I did before all my sins. When I was young and pure within, Lord, let me live again. Lord, my anger, it eats at me, so I lay it here at your feet. I'm the fruit and you're the tree. With you, Lord, I'm calm and free. Lift me up, make me new, cleanse my soul, heal my wounds, reveal the lies, guide me true. Lord, there's no pain when I'm one with you. Lord, help me see what's real, not just believing what I feel. I know you're within each heart to heal. Lord, help me see what's real. Lord, times I feel lost, you're here but I forgot. Take my hand and we'll travel on. Through it all you make me strong. Lift me up, make me new, cleanse my soul, heal my wounds, reveal the lies, guide me true. Lord, there's no pain when I'm one with you. Lift me up, make me new, cleanse my soul, heal my wounds, lies got me true. Lord, there's no pain when I'm one with you. Lord, there's no pain when I'm one with you. Thank you. When I was sort of doing research on what I was coming into, well, I think it actually said luminaries, but I read visionaries, so I'm going to talk about visionaries for a second. I think that what I feel like this gathering is, and the arts in general, it is faith-based work. You see something, you see the unseen, you feel something in your heart, you see something in your mind, and then you do everything you can do to bring it to this plane. And so much of the work we do is it's seasonal, it's temporary, and we don't really know what's coming next year. You know, I'm filling out my health care for next year, and like, how much money are you going to make? I'm like, buddy, I don't know. That's a good question. So a lot of my music is just sort of examining this question of faith, and I think that amongst all these other things that have been discussed today, like, our faith is a system that's being deconstructed of what it all really means, and not just surface level Bible verses that we can sling at each other to be right, you know, to be on the right side of whatever of the aisle. I don't even know what being right gets you, but kind of backing up, this next song was sort of my the softening of my heart to ask that question again. Our beliefs are so deep, and they're all based off of something real, I like to believe. And to change people, like I said before, it takes time, and not just one singular conversation. And I wrote this song after a friend of mine he was my middle school football coach, and his mother had passed away. She used to record the football games for local access, so I knew that was just a family friend. And I went in there and I was like, what am I going to say to this brother of mine who just lost his mother? And I got there, and I felt like he was the one consoling me. He was the one that was sort of resting in his faith. And that last song, you know, I said there's no pain. It's like there's pain no matter what, but I think that pain is part of life, and I think pain also teaches us, and we're having to learn how to steal from Silas backstage. It was that we have to learn how to stand with both. We can be sad, and we can also hang on to the joy. And this song is about just finding the joy despite what you know, despite all these infinite things that will always be there to bring you down and bring you away from the moment, the blessing of the moment. It's a mind. For me, it's been like mind training of like just putting my mind in the right place. And so I wrote this song as soon as I walked out of that funeral, and it's brought me here today. I feel like I'm just so amazed at where this life has brought me, and to a place with such a intention as this. It just feels like I can sleep a little easier at night because I know that there's people fighting the good fight in the ditches. You know, this isn't glory. It's not a glorious path, but it's it's the one I want to be on, and I'm just thankful to be here. So this song's called Linda James. Linda James was a good damn woman. She gave everyone her life. She had a taste for the simple things, what it took to make a good life. She said, love as much as you can, give it gratitude at night, and be thankful for each and every day that you get to see the sunrise. Don't take your dogs for granted, don't you do nothing in spite, and take care of the people, and you won't need a steeple to give the world your life. In the land of 1,000 churches, seems that everyone's a saint, but they're few and far between, like her sister Linda James. She passed her light to her children and passed it on to their own. It's amazing how love just ripples out, and we get to watch it all grow. That's why you gotta love as much as you can, give it gratitude at night, and be thankful for each and every day that you get to see the sunrise. Don't take your parents for granted, don't you do nothing in spite, and take care of the people, and you won't need a steeple to give the world your life. You just give the world your life. It teaches the fish how to swim, it teaches the birds how to fly. It'll light up your lantern in the middle of the night and go with you for the rest of your life. Some people find it in their preacher, others find it in their friends. Some find it in a long lost woman, and others find it in the wind. That's why you gotta love as much as you can, give you gratitude at night, and be thankful for each and every day that you get to see the sunrise. Don't take this life for granted, don't you do nothing in spite, and take care of the people, and you won't need a steeple to give the world your life. You take care of the people, and you won't need a steeple to give the world your life. You just give the world your light, your light, your light, your light. That's why you gotta love as much as you can, give it gratitude at night, and be thankful for each and every day that you get to see the sunrise. Don't take this life for granted, don't you do nothing in spite, and take care of the people, and you won't need a steeple to give the world your life. You take care of the people, and you won't need a steeple to give the world your light. You just give the world your light, your light. Thank you so much.
Lose your battery. Hello. You want this one? Yeah. Oh, hey.
Yep, there we go. We got one more. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the fun things about being from where I'm from is the amount of made-up words and phrases that a lot of them, most of the words that come out of my mouth. One that I want to ask about, if anybody else here has heard. To krill your ankle. Yep. They've never heard that in Harvard Square. I said, boys, we were walking down the street and I stepped in a hole and I krilled my ankle. For those that have never heard it. What's another one? Nord. My mom would say, quit acting like a Nord. Kind of sheepish. Mailard. You ever heard that? Mailard? That person was mailing my head. I had to get out of there. It's just like when they're like getting on your nerves and you just like touched out and you just gotta Mailard. That's one. That's a Floyd County one, I think. But when I was in college, I roomed with a guy from Hyden, Kentucky, home of the Osborne brothers and Tim Couch, and he was talking about when he had too much to drink. He said, "Bulls, I was blowed in the creek last night," and I never heard that in my life, and I haven't heard it since. But it reminded me as we've been talking about these, and we're on this spiritual rant today. I wasn't planning on it, but it's Sunday, and I just landed here. It was this similar phrase that I heard growing up called slain in the Spirit. It's when, people on Sundays they get overcome by the Holy Spirit, and they're just in the floor and crying, and Spirit overtakes them. I was like, well, that's kind of like being blowed in the creek, I think. So I would say anybody that's never experienced it's like flow state. It's ultimate awareness or ultimate presence, So this is a new old-time song. I've been playing banjo really my whole life, but the last 10 months or so I've really began to play it for me, and just connects me to so many people before me, and it's been a real joy. So thank you all so much for being here and all the good that you all are doing, the good fight that you're fighting, and we'll leave you with this one. It's called Blowed in the Creek.
Well, I went to the mountain to find my Lord. I heard somebody shouting. A sweet voice made me rejoice as I opened that crystal fountain. Living waters washed me clean, left me crying in the woods, and sent me on a pilgrimage in the land of bad and good. And I'm blowed in the creek. Well, I done what I done my whole life, doing what I had to do. I told some lies in the skies, and I needed to hear the truth. Rich and darkness caught me up, I was sinking in the shallows, but wouldn't you know I was redeemed in the hill above the hollows. And I'm down in the creek, as I'm down in the creek. Rains fall, heard the sound of thunder like a trumpet call. Holy Ghost running wild in me, never been more wild, never been more free. La la la, never been more free. 'Cause I'm blowed in the creek. 'Cause I'm blowed in the creek. Aaron Smith, everybody. Thank you so much.